I call to order the town council meeting for March 6, 2024. We go by an agenda, and our meetings are recorded electronically. Anyone wishing to have something placed on the agenda should have had it to the town hall the previous Wednesday, the last Wednesday of the previous month by 3 o'clock. Anyone wishing to speak tonight, we ask you to have sign up over here by our town attorney. Anyone that is signed up over there will have a 3-minute limit to speak. Approval of minutes from the February 7th, 2024 Town Council meeting. They have been emailed out to everybody.
Do the pledge.
Oh, I'm sorry. Get it down. Try to keep my meetings at an hour, but that's the wrong way of doing it. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Good call. All right. Again, approval of minutes from the February 7, 2024 Town Council meeting. Do I hear a motion for approval or amendment?
Make a motion to accept.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to accept. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So carried. Mayor's report. Quite a busy month, along with Councilmember Schultz. I won't take all of the thunder because I know that's part of her report. I guess the month before when Councilman Cornick and I attended a meet and greet, I guess, a welcoming with the county commissioners. I met with Paige Sunderland and Denise Beaver about getting more support from the county economic development. And shortly thereafter, I get a email about having a meeting with Paige Sunderland, who's the deputy director, and Denise Beaver, director of Carroll County Department of Economic Development. It was a very productive 2-hour meeting. Kim and I attended. Their department, one thing they can do for free is what retail strategies that I mentioned last year. They could do a nice report. Retail strategies out of Georgia was going to charge $25,000. They'll do basically the same thing. It's analysis of what people spend within like a 5-mile radius, what they spend it on, how much they spend, and different things. So looking forward to seeing that in the near future. And since the meeting on February 23rd, I've scheduled 2 meetings with 2 prospective investors to bring business to town. So I'm already real pleased with that meeting and the response from the county. These 2 individuals, Paige and Denise, are going to be going around to all the counties or all the towns and meeting with town staff in the near future. We were lucky to be the first town. I attended the Maryland Mayor's Association Winter Conference in Annapolis last week. This is usually where I say that I got to talk to the governor about issues with the town, but that was the same evening where they had the 2-hour lockdown at the state capitol. We were in line to go into the governor's house at about 5:05, and they rushed everybody inside, and we were locked down for 2 hours. Governor Moore did come and speak with us and thanked his staff and our understanding and everything and what all the mayors do around the state. But he wanted to get to his 2 children, and I don't blame him for that. However, I did get to talk to Dylan Goldberg, who's been very helpful with me in other projects. He's the Deputy Director of Intergovernmental Affairs, about the use of the former town hall. So I sent Dylan the PowerPoint presentation that we saw last month, and he is going to be forwarding it to agencies that he thinks might be a funding source. Also coordinating with county staff to set up a meeting with the mayors and David Smith, who's the new owner of the Baltimore Sun. Mr. Smith wants to bring back the local news to Carroll County Times. If you've read the Carroll County Times lately, the front page usually might have one local thing on it. The thing that I will stress, and probably all the mayors will too, hopefully, is that we start getting reporters to come to our meetings so that they learn what's going on, learn the issues, and don't have to be, retaught every couple months. So we'll see how that goes. Communicating with Jeff Childs with Lewis Contractors and Mimi, I guess it's Guerri, an architect to create a scope of work and cost estimate for the building stabilization at Dealman Inn. And I'm working on a sustainable communities renewal application that's every 5 years. And I hope to have a draft sent out to council and staff by Monday. There's a few things I need from staff, but I have most of that done already. And this will be discussed and put on the agenda and finalized at the March work session. And then I'll submit it the next day or later that night. And I think I sent an email out to everybody, hopefully I did, coordinated with MML staff for a visit to New Windsor on March 14th. That's next Thursday. They're going to be going to a couple towns. They're starting to come out of Annapolis and meet with municipalities, and they're coming out before our MML dinner that night. So they'll be here around 12:15, and I'll get with town staff on what we need to have ready for them. But the delegation will be the 2023-24 MML President John Carroll, MML President-elect Michael O'Connor from Frederick, and then CEO Teresa Kuhns, and several members of the MML management. They are tentatively planning to arrive at 12:15, and then we'll sit and talk and then do a little road trip if the weather's permitting. So, and that's my report. Council committee reports. Community enhancement, Councilman Gubernitis.
I don't have anything to report at this time, but I'm anxiously awaiting to get together here shortly with Councilman Woman Schultz on some things that we discussed and we want to move forward with. My recuperation from my subsequent surgeries and whatnot, I feel like I'm finally in for the beat and things are looking a lot better. So I hope to have some good things to report sometime soon.
All right, thank you. Public Works, Councilman Huffman.
Good evening, everyone. Public Works highlights for last month include they spent much of the unseasonably mild weather performing cleanup around town, getting a head start on that. They worked at the picking up trash at the skate park, the walking trail and butterfly park, as well as the Blue Ridge Settlement Pond. They cut vegetation there, trimmed some trees, and collected a lot of trash that had accumulated in that area. Public Works also cleaned up their work area in the lower level of Town Hall here, the block building at the Gear Lane facility, and the ground level area inside the water tower. New Windsor had one snow event during February that required plowing and salting. Public Works expediently handled that event. As protocol requires, all snow equipment was thoroughly washed and greased afterwards. Public Works performed a detailed cleaning of the street sweeper, ensuring that it is ready for the spring usage. As a public service announcement, please do not throw any type of trash, including bulk items, into the yard waste dumpsters at the Public Works facility on the Gear Lane. I was discarding yard waste on Thursday of last week, and someone had thrown a large monitor and printer into the dumpster. I was able to get them out before they were covered with yard waste, and I was able to climb back out of the dumpster, thankfully. As I was in there and my phone was in the truck, I was thinking, Anyway, the trash contaminates the contents of the dumpster, and New Windsor will be charged the regular trash tipping fee instead of it being dumped for free as yard waste disposal. So thank you for adhering to that. The Planning Commission, we did meet in February. We reviewed the planning members' comments on the first three rewritten chapters of the comprehensive plan. So we're really actually going through, hopefully, the final review of the updated plan. Our next scheduled meeting is March 25th. And some councilman highlights. I attended the Town Council and Planning Commission scheduled meetings, continued to work with the county planners and the town manager on getting the necessary information to perform discharge capacity measurements in the town zoning areas, and discussed with the Public Works team the scheduling of the upcoming bulk trash and town cleanup day.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. As chair of Public Works, are you assuring no more snow?
I won't insure it, but it's looking pretty good.
All right.
And the fact that they spent a lot of time detailing the street sweeper, I think they're anxious to get back on that.
Along with not putting those kind of items into the yard waste, on behalf of the guys that go around and do an outstanding job, do not put your pet droppings in the bags. I know that's happened in the past. Our workers don't need to be putting their hands into your dog's or cat's dropping, so just keep that in mind too. Be respectful. Water and sewer, Councilman Hall.
All right, so at the booster station, the pumps were installed, the new pumps, and they're going to finish the existing piping and painting of the facility. At Hillside, the pricing has been received for painting, and we'll discuss that at the work session. There was 2 water leaks this month, one at Blue Ridge, which ended up being on the private residence side, and another one at Townview Circle, which is currently under investigation. There was also 2 sinkholes found at the town farm. We're also waiting on pricing to see the remediation of those 2. And that's my report.
All right, thank you. Public safety and health, Councilman Cornick.
Yes, good evening to everyone. I attended events and meetings attended for the month include the Carroll County Overdose Prevention Town Hall on February 6th. The meeting was attended by the state and county elected officials, notably Special Secretary of Overdose Response, Special Secretary Emily Kelly, former mayor of Hagerstown, attended on behalf of the state, and then Carroll County Commissioner Ed Roth, District 5. The purpose of the meeting was for county residents and opioid prevention organizers to present ideas and concerns regarding overdose prevention and recovery to the state's representative, Emily Kelly. Upcoming meetings and events to be attended is the MML dinner hosted by the town of Westminster on March 14th, and the Overdose Prevention Coalition meeting on March 13th at the Carroll County Health Department. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Economic Development, Councilwoman Schultz. Hope I didn't steal all your thunder.
No, not at all. I mean, in addition to those 2 meetings, I did attend the Human Services Program and the Executive Committee and Board meeting. But the only thing I would add to the mayor's report about our meeting with Economic Development was that one of the senses I got from Paige and Denise was that the Economic Development Program has sort of been reinvigorated, and it sounds like they're really going to be focusing a lot on the municipality, so I felt good about that. And they also just talked about how the county is planning, no longer calling it smart growth, because I guess that term's gone, but she said, should we call it dumb growth? It is smart, so basically what that means is they're going to try to look at developing around infrastructure, so good roads and water, et cetera. So, they'll be looking at everybody in the county for that. So she talked a little bit about property development. So I think it was the beginning of an ongoing relationship with them. So that'll be nice. Related to economic development, the downtowns group was canceled because it snowed. The only update I have from them is that they're planning for their table at Maryland Municipal League in June. I did want to just I'm going to try to remember to do this every month, a little shout out for a local business. And this one came to mind because it's a business that you can't see. So we have a new art gallery in New Windsor. It's actually on Manning, is that Lane? Which is parallel to Main Street, behind Main Street, in between it and sort of the library and well, that was the slip, Attorney Gullo's office. And they're open on Friday nights and Saturday day. And the thing that's kind of cool about them is that they feature a lot of local artists. But on that note, Dana and Kim and I both, if we see something that a local business is posted online or on Facebook, we share it on our page. So if you want to make sure we see something, because the Facebook algorithm is weird, we might not see it, make sure you let us know and we'll make sure that we share your business as something going on. I've got some stuff in here about the upcoming business education for the county's economic development office and the chamber, and I'll put all of those on Facebook, but they have a couple of workshops, like a blogging one and how to start your own business online. And they just want a reminder, there's only about a month and a half left to apply for the high school scholarship through the Maryland Municipal League, which is due at Hampstead Town Hall on April 26th.
Thank you. Town Manager's report.
Okay, so the complaint letter that was received from an anonymous resident, we'll discuss that under the Code Enforcement Officer's report for the Blue Ridge Pump Station upgrade. Notice to proceed was issued February 26th to be effective March 1st. And the notice to proceed sets the project contract time of 365 days. The delivery of the prepackaged pump station is estimated for November 19th of this year. Johnson Construction estimates mobilization at the beginning of October, and we're working through the very time-consuming submittal and permit process. Maryland 31 water main project, not much to report. Mid-Atlantic is installing sewer cleanouts, and a second crew will be added to expedite the process. Our monthly progress meeting was held on February 28th, and the above-ground water bypass system and new water main installation is to begin on or about April 1st, depending on the temperatures. And the Public Works property survey, site plan, and design for the Gear Lane and Public Works facility. An RFP was sent to 5 local surveying engineering firms February 28th. Site visits available upon request March 13th through the 15th between 9 and 2, and 2 scheduled so far. The proposals are due March 27th, so hopefully have the information together and make recommendation to Mayor and Council at the April 3rd Council meeting. Some important notes to date or to think about here is the upcoming meetings, the March 18th work session, the April 3rd council meeting, hopefully be budget introduction, and then the April 15th work session and the May 1st council meeting we're hoping to have that all scheduled for the budget hearing and adoption. That's my report.
All right, sir, thank you. And Director Myers' report?
If you want to read it, I got it. So Director Myers is a little under the weather, so I'm going to read his report. Town staff has been working with MDE, Carroll County Land Management, and our consultant Hydroterra to develop additional techniques for pending water resource projects. This includes a comprehensive plan to establish new well sites and utilize existing ones. Additional considerations have been made regarding water appropriation permits and allocations. We're looking at the following. The town of New Windsor has 2 groundwater appropriation permits. We're looking into combining them. The one is 53 gallon per day for the hillside wells 1 and 2, and the other allows withdrawal of 143,000 gallons per day from Mainspring, Dennings Well, Roops Meadow Spring, and well MSF5. We're proposing to MDE of combining these permits and adding new sources to achieve an annual withdrawal of 196,000 gallons per day, which is aimed at sustainability and cost effectiveness. The Roops Meadow Spring requires advanced treatment and may be affected by quarry activities, posing a risk to the town water supply. Well, MSF5 provides good water quality, but relies on an aging transmission line prone to leaks. To address reliability issues, the town's seeking additional water sources close to town. We've chosen 4 sites at the 1000 Green Valley Road property and are in final stages of preparation to get permission to drill. This work is tedious and very detail oriented. We're looking at the Atlee Ridge well. It was drilled in 1992 when the subdivision was put in, which will require testing to meet MDE standards. The source is very likely to produce 30 gallons per minute or greater, and we're actively pursuing this and it looks very promising. So some goals and objectives are to ensure a reliable water supply closer to town, merge the 2 appropriation permits, create a capacity management plan, start drilling at 1000 Green Valley Road in April, May of this year, complete the needed testing and submit to MDE May to June of this year, the Atlee well testing in June as well, the Atlee well permitting and allocability approval in July, and 1000 Green Valley Road second look conversion to test wells in July. September of this year, Atlee well request engineer's estimate. The Dennings Road well will need maintenance and redevelopment. We are currently working with Carroll County Land Management and our well driller to investigate and receive pricing to complete the work. The well is not operational and need the pump to be pulled so they can camera the well for inspection. That's it.
Couple things, Gary. I don't know if you can answer these or not, but I know at one time you can't just get appropriation permits to get a limited amount of water. They cap it, but I don't know whether you know what that cap is, if it's 50% more than what we're using, or.
Yeah, I don't know what that number is. That's Wayne might know, but it's an MDE question. What we're doing here with the permits is basically just combining them, and we're not looking for any additional amounts on the permits. It's more combining the two permits. So it has to do with ground recharge in the areas surrounding the wells and stuff, but I don't know the specific process for that.
All right.
I can check.
And then the other thing, I see this one, 30 gallons per minute or greater. What's the rule of thumb, if you know, where if it's not producing X amount of gallons per minute, it's not feasible, financial feasible?
Well, it's usually, I mean, you want at least probably 15 to 20, because that's gallons per minute. So if you got to convert that to the daily flow, which there's 1,440 minutes in a day. So it's a lot. Even though you only might be talking 15 to 20, 30 gallons a minute, that can be productive over the term of a course of a day.
Right, I understand that, but there's got to be a line somewhere that we don't spend a lot of money for something that's not going to be producing a lot.
Right. Right. I don't know what the minimum is, but I'll check on that as well.
Thank you. Community deputy?
Yeah, I'll put it up.
Oh, you're on.
I don't know if anyone else feels the same way, but the month of February flew by, so.
Even with that extra day?
It came in, yes it did. So between February 7th and March 6th, 2024, the Carroll County Sheriff's Office responded to 32 calls for service within the town of New Windsor. Out of those calls for service, 3 were found to be reportable. So pretty good month for us. On 2/10/24 at 5 p.m., a traffic stop was completed in 2800 block of New Windsor Road. The findings of the investigation included possession of controlled dangerous substances with the intent to distribute. The subject was arrested and transported to central booking. On 2/10/24 at 12:18 a.m., a domestic assault was reported in the 100 block of Springdale Avenue. Both parties were separated and referred to the Commissioner's Office for charges and provided with protective order resources. On 3/6/24 at 12:27 p.m., a trespassing complaint was reported to the Sheriff's Office in the 2700 block of Townview Circle. A resident advised that another resident was trespassing on the property while walking a dog. Both parties were interviewed, and this was determined to be a civil matter. Both parties were advised of peace orders and provided with documentation of the incident. Flyers for the community basketball game have been completed. We are set for April 4th at 5 p.m. Registrations to be distributed. I don't know if Ms. Teresa wants to talk about that later on, but I do have some flyers here handy. I have these. I can leave these on the back table for distribution if you guys are interested in sending some out. It actually has the registration information on there. I think they turned out pretty good. Actually, 7-Eleven is going to be helping us out too as a sponsorship of Union Bridge 7-Eleven. So we got Muhammad involved there, and it's going to be a great event.
The New Windsor Lions Club and also
And yes, well, New Windsor Lions Club, of course, is support for the event, and I will be in attendance as well, and I believe my supervisor will be there as well for the event. So we're looking forward to that. That's going to be a good event. Hopefully we get a good turnout.
and also the boys are in town. They're very, I got with some of them, and they're very excited about having the game at the school.
So just wanted to add that we still have steering wheel locking devices. I know I talked to Kim earlier, and she said that there's about 6 or 7 left. So if anyone's interested, feel free to come pick them up. We still have them here at this location, the town office. Something I didn't add to that report, but I thought about in the back. Carroll County is distributing free Chromebooks to they have 5,000 free Chromebooks to hand out to the community. But these are for individuals that are 200% below the federal poverty level. So there's some qualifications. There's actually a link on the Carroll County webpage for that. I can probably get some information post up here in town hall for that, but I think that's a great resource, you know, for the individuals of the county. That there's 5,000 of them going around, so hopefully we can impact some individuals here in New Windsor with that. I think that's pretty much all I have.
All right, you did good.
Thank you. Getting there.
West Carroll, Rec Council, you can just give it to him.
Here you go.
Sorry about that.
Eric Myers with West Carroll Rec. We're wrapping up the winter sports programs. Basketball had tremendous numbers, 350 kids, or close to 350 kids. Happy to report that wrestling, with adding the girls program, their numbers spiked. They went up at least 30%. They had to add a couple coaches to help out, so that was really good. Gearing up for the spring sports. Hoping registration goes strong. We have soccer, track and field, softball, girls lacrosse, cheer, and rugby. So far, it sounds like everything's going great. I want to thank the Lions Club. They did sponsor a couple kids who needed help with some funding, and we might need a little bit more. Not sure yet, but things are looking up. I think we have good programs here, with good coaches. So with these numbers from the winter, hopefully they roll over, we keep these kids active.
Very good.
That's great.
Thank you. Can you give us the chief, fire chief report?
Okay, so I'll go over my stats first. So for February, we had 22 fire calls and 57 EMS calls. And as usual in fire service, you never know what you're going to be up against. So we had one significant event in February, and it was a horse rescue. This is probably the first one we've had in New Windsor since I've been here. I've been on one at work one time, but we had a horse that kind of got loose, got by a creek bed, got stuck in the mud. So we called some other resources. Luckily, we live in a small community. Everybody's kind of tied together. We were able to get a boom truck from Babylon Vault to help us out. We had some rigging equipment on our apparatus. We were able to get the horse out. The horse, I understand, is doing well. A lot of times, that's not always the outcome. But just something to note. You know, we can't plan for everything. We plan for a lot of stuff, and so this one had a positive outcome.
Didn't go in the vault.
Well, it wasn't a human, but a horse. You know, they're very expensive. They're very close to the owners as family and stuff. If you're ever around any horse people, you'll kind of know that you know they're very closely, I guess, close with their owners. Or whatever. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. I thought that was a good outcome.
And then I told you earlier that Councilman Cornick and Councilman Huffman will serve, along with myself, on the task force about the 211 property.
Yeah, so we can get together after this real quick, and maybe I have a couple members that's going to participate from the fire department, and maybe we can get a meeting together to get that started, at least kicked off.
All right. Thank you. Treasurer?
Not much going on. $250,000 from Enterprise Developer Fee account was invested with CQ at 5% for 13 months. That's all I got.
That's a lot compared to some years when it was only one or two, so that is a lot. Water and sewer billing, nothing. Code enforcement officer?
Good evening.
Evening.
Do I need a microphone or no?
Probably.
Okay, can I borrow this space right here?
Please, you may have it.
Okay, so, since last meeting, we had two major complaints in town. One was dumping over at the open space park. There was some cement that was dumped into the stream bed, that was investigated by the county, and I guess they're not doing anything else with it, according to them?
No, that was determined to be, Glenn contacted MDE. They were gonna come out, but once Glenn did a site visit with Wayne, it was found to be a small, it wasn't actually in the bed, it was along the bank more so, and they were able to get it out of there, off the bank and removed. We can discuss what we're gonna do with speaking to the resident that we think may have done that, but we don't know for sure.
Right, 100%. So, we did have a rain after that, but probably had some, did some good in flushing whatever was there, if it was anything in the creek bed. So, our second complaint is in reference to the letter is in front of you. It's an anonymous letter in reference to the unregistered, untagged, abandoned vehicles throughout town. So my process for this was to send letters to some of these residents, and then I sent follow-up secondary letters to some of these residents with nothing that was ever done or contact that was made back to us. According to the town code, when you issue a letter in reference to this violation, there should be a sticker that is also placed on the vehicle, which I do not have. So in return of that and notifying them, I was sending second notifications, which went nowhere. The code that's also in front of you references that the vehicle can be impounded, and then it is up to it falls back onto the town to dispose of the vehicle, whether you send it to your auction and benefit from the price of the sale, or something along those lines. There's also municipal infractions that are supposed to be enforced, $50 for one time, if they don't abide by the removal of the vehicles, and then $150 subsequent fine. The municipal infractions would only stop here at Town Hall. There is no kind of connection between our municipal infractions and anything that the county can enforce via the court. So in all reality, it kind of dead ends there. Without somebody strategically following up and noting dates and times as to when these violations are not answered to. The code also states that from the issuance of the letter, they have 15 days to remove the vehicle. Riding around town, a lot of these vehicles don't look like they've been driven in quite some time. There's some unregistered vehicles, there's some untagged vehicles, there's some extremely old vehicles that people have on their properties. So this is going to be a task, and I'm kind of looking at direction from the council as to which way you want to take this. There's some things that are probably going to have to be put in place in reference to going full force on this issue. So I am open to suggestions.
So my first question is, you mentioned that there is a requirement for stickers to be affixed to vehicles. Do you know?
Issuance of the letter.
Do you know which page that is on?
It's on. So under 189-7, enforcement, violation, and penalties, it's in this section. Where it states you have to attach a notice to the vehicle. To my best knowledge, I'm assuming that's some sort of sticker.
I mean,
Notice of tow or violation. I mean, there's nothing here, or there's no record here of any kind of documentation, sticker, citation, any form on the city files where there was something that was ever issued previous for me to go off of. I'd also talked to Deputy Calusi when I first started here, and he said that the infraction booklets back there are null and void. They mean nothing to the county court system, so we can only enforce it here at the town level. And there's no any kind of notification stickers of any sorts.
Those books are old, there's no question.
Oh, I'm very much aware.
But you can take the information that is in the book and put it in letter form, because a lot of places don't even keep those books anymore, because 2 years later you got to throw them out. And there's ways to issue violations without a book. That's all I mean.
It's not so much issuing a violation, it's basically a notification of that the letter has been issued, and now that their 15-day time frame is ticking. But if I were to issue that on paper form and it rains, that's null and void.
But you can do both, is what I mean. You know, if we know who owns the vehicle.
But you already sent a letter. I mean, technically here, yeah, you could just copy that letter, put it on the vehicle, but it's still in violation according to the code. And in the code, it says that any violation of this chapter would be a municipal infraction of $50 a day.
Right, or impound, and although I may be an agent of the town, I don't know, I have no information on if we have an impound company. I'm incapable of running vehicle tags as the deputy is, and he's not in town 24/7. It would be a process to get in contact with NBA and be authorized to even run tags. Some of these vehicles don't even have tags on them, which means I would have to find the VIN number. Some of them are not visible if the vehicle is locked. I'm basically towing an unregistered vehicle that I can't even provide information on.
No.
You know, that's not legal.
Not doing that.
We've been doing this for.
We've been having this discussion for quite a while. Some of these properties.
So I understand that there
Yeah.
wants to be action to be done, but
Yeah.
there's a process and we really don't have one that's followed. So that's what I'm asking for guidelines or suggestions on what route you would like me to take. I don't mind driving around the town and I've already notated numerous vehicles in this town that are unregistered. Over 30. That includes trailers, that includes covered by tarps, and that doesn't include long driveways where I would have to drive all the way up in an unmarked vehicle with a badge around my neck. That doesn't include vehicles where I can't obtain any identifying information outside of the description of the vehicle and the make and model. VIN numbers are blocked. Some of the vehicles in the town are absolutely deteriorating. So that's kind of where I'm here. I don't mind taking the process and doing and acting on it. I just need some direction.
Michelle, what authority and right do we have to go onto somebody's property?
Very limited, very limited, and that's, we always come back to that.
On top of the safety issue.
Yeah, that's a whole different thing. Not that that's
Yeah,
not
no.
as important, don't get me
no,
wrong.
I completely- I got it.
Some of these vehicles, I'm sure we're all familiar with.
Some
but
properties have numerous vehicles.
Yeah, but if it's sitting on private property and it's got a tarp on it, and you think it shouldn't be there, there's really not much at all that the town can do about that. Now,
Well, the town says private or public property. It does notate private or public property. So living within the town limits, I guess we have a little bit of leeway, but not much. I mean,
well,
there's still
no,
the legal ramifications.
I would say it's pretty simple to if you add the fine because you know that the vehicle is untagged. You can see that from the public right of way. And if it's untagged, you know the property that it's sitting on, so you can write a letter to the property owner. You could then enforce that in the court system with a fine.
which we can
to
do,
that
the
property
county doesn't
owner.
have to do that. We generally
Don't
haven't
have to.
done it.
What I'm saying is
But
that's
can.
provided.
We can bring the action for, if you cite somebody for a municipal infraction and they don't pay the fine or they don't move the vehicle or whatever the solution would be, we have to file against them in the district court. And then somebody standing as the prosecutor takes that to the judge. And yeah, it's a pain in the neck and it's
I mean,
expensive,
is that a
but
route
it's,
that the town is willing to take over impounding a vehicle
Well,
and
yeah.
dealing with whether the owner comes and claims a vehicle?
yeah,
and
it's a
then
whole lot
the
safer
property of
to
the town?
issue a municipal violation than it is to start impounding vehicles off of private property.
But if it's on,
If it's on a street, that's different.
So in reference to the vehicle that is of your concern, he's been sent 3 letters over the past 6 months with no response, but that's kind of where it ends. So it's either tow the vehicle, go knock on his door. I can issue a municipal infraction. He doesn't pay the municipal infraction.
And then-
The second one is 150 and 150. What limit are we going to with these infractions to where you take it to court? You know, that all this stuff has to kind of be lined out, and it's not.
Well,
which is
I will not hesitate to say this is not a new issue.
can we put liens on the houses?
Good. If the court allows it.
If there's a judgment against an individual who is the owner of record of the house, unless it's against an individual and the house is owned by a married couple, in which case you can't put a judgment against one person on a house that's owned as tenants by the entireties. See, it all sounds like it should be simple. But every time we sit down and talk about it, we realize that it isn't. Now, that's just a judgment call.
And this isn't the first time that I've brought it up either. After I first started working here, I was in question about violations and towing and stickers and how, and it kind of was the same conversation. It kind of goes nowhere. But if you want me to enforce it, I'm going to need some.
I thought we bought stickers years ago.
Somebody has told me that too, and I can't find them anywhere.
Stickers or no sticker, the problem that I have is if we don't enforce the code that we have,
It'll never go away.
we don't have a code. Because if there's no enforcement of what we set, then everybody knows, just don't follow it, they're not going to do anything.
And I don't mind enforcing the code, but there needs to be a process. So there needs to be some kind of decision that's made that is above me.
Are there, how many are on public right away?
I don't have an accurate number for what's on public right of way. What I can tell you is what I can visibly see from the roadway on private property or off private property, and that's on roadways where they would legally be parked. That's if they're visibly expired or absolutely abandoned. So in the Atlee Ridge community, I have approximately 5. That does not include trailers that are legally registered but illegally parked on the roadway. The old New Windsor Pike area, which is Gullo, Gloucester, Graybill, there's only one house over there which is of concern, and he has numerous vehicles on his one property. The other ones would be legally parked on the roadway within, and I would have to literally go and read tags to see if they were expired, registered, didn't have tags of that sort. North of Main Street, so College Ave, Manning, Blue Ridge, there's approximately 6 over there. Most of these vehicles back up to the alleyway, so although they are parked next to structures that they could be in, they are not in them. And most of them look inoperable. South side of Main Street, which is Church, Robertson, Maple, Lambert, Pilsen, there's approximately 13 in this general area. That stems from unregistered trailers, untagged vehicles, expired vehicles. Over here on Hill Street and just Mill Drive, just here behind Town Hall, there's 3. So we're looking at over 30 vehicles.
Now, on Mill Drive, is any of those?
Nope, they're parked on private property, not any body shops or any of that nature.
But there are some that are on public.
Most of these that I've all notated are parked on public or private property via parking pads, driveways facing the alleyway, gravel spaces for parking. The vehicles are either unregistered, untagged, inoperable, of that nature.
I have a question, and basically just real simple. You made the reference before to the opinion of the previous deputy, the paperwork and whatnot we have here. And I know, of course, Kevin's not here 24/7, but have you guys talked and have you had any input on this at all to, via the paperwork, or viewed anything or seen anything that, in your opinion, would help expedite this process or eliminate some of the questions as we have to now?
Yeah. Have at it. We're teaming up in this.
I'm glad you brought something up because, I'm back here jumping out of my skin, wanting to add something to contribute to this conversation. So, if the vehicle is parked on a public right of way, obviously we can come out and tag the vehicle. It needs to be removed within 48 hours of our tag. So, we would do that. We document it on our end, and then we would be responsible for towing the vehicle to the Carroll County Sheriff's Office. It would be the next reliable tow company. It would go to that tow lot, and I would simply write a quick incident report, document it, and that's it. Of course, I try to notify the driver by all means, and I have some phenomenal resources for doing that. So I can contact them via phone, go to their address. Everything's open to me. So we actually ran across each other this afternoon and addressed a few issues before the meeting, but we need to communicate and get on the same level there so that we can be in touch for these issues. Because if she's unsafe going on somebody's property, I can go out there with her. We can have that conversation with the individual that is in violation. And I'm certainly willing to help in any way that I can. One of my questions with this is it okay for me to issue a civil violation for one of these infractions? So, because I have a civil violation book that will be on file. I mean, we don't do a lot of handwritten citations anymore. Most of them are done through e-tics, but I do still have the civil violation book, and could I enforce a town code?
But the town wouldn't benefit, the county.
Well, the town doesn't benefit.
Could-
Well,
could
other than
said
maybe
person
getting rid of the
just tear it
vehicle.
up and throw it away and nothing would happen? That's my question, or is it gonna go through the courts?
Well, and nothing goes through the courts automatically.
Okay, so it would then.
So, someone, if you got a, if, it just doesn't. If you had a municipal infraction issued, and the person comes in and pays it, fine, gold. But if the person says,
And
that's
the
from the
conversation we
Latin.
had. That's the conversation we had earlier.
Then the town has to file with the district court to enforce the municipal infraction. Now, what I can't answer sitting here right at this minute, I apologize, but I just don't want to say the wrong answer, is whether you as sheriff can issue a civil citation, or if you as code enforcement has to issue a civil citation. I just don't know. I also don't know if within your operation, there's any restrictions, limitations, et cetera, on you doing that. You know, I just don't know that.
Well, I can look into that.
Yeah, there's a lot of things
Well,
that
I
we
do know in the
will talk
past-
about again.
The past deputy did say before that it was not the view of the county to be issuing municipal infractions.
And that was communicated with me in our transformation.
Sure.
That's why I've been kind of staying away from it, but like some of these issues, you know, it makes sense for me to be involved with them. I mean, it's a common call that I get. You know, we get abandoned vehicles all the time in the county. And,
Sure.
it just seems like, are we in a wheelhouse, per se?
How many times have we impounded a vehicle or trailer?
In town, none to my knowledge, from being up here. There's been some that I've had out of town, like alongside 31. I'll tag it, you know, it'll sit there for a couple days and then we'll tow it. But I haven't had anything in town on like a street that we've been required to tow. Now, this whole private property issue and everything else, you know, that's something completely different. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
may-
ordinance.
Maybe with MML staff coming out next Thursday and the MML dinner, we'll have 8 municipalities there that can discuss
Sitting
it.
ducks.
Huh?
I said 8 sitting ducks,
Yeah.
just waiting to be
One
pounced
thing
on.
I did learn or heard at the mayor's conference last week is that when they impound a vehicle, they don't do it locally. They may call a company out of Montgomery County to come up and get it, take it down there, and they're gonna have about a $500 fine.
That's wrong.
But it's gonna get a point across.
Well, I
Yeah,
can just,
I mean,
I
if-
kind
if
of
it's
agree
just
with
gonna be
you on
something
that.
local and a little fine,
That's the wrong part.
yeah,
is
well,
storage fee.
I know that, so in Carroll
Those
County-
storage fees, they're not $4 a day.
No.
So I know that in Carroll County, there's a minimum fee for towing a vehicle. I think it's like, don't quote me on this, but I think it's like $160, $170 or so, just for the tow company to come out. And then they charge a daily fee for it to be at the tow lot. We have a nearest reliable list that, you know, we will have come out. So dispatch will pull somebody from that list. It may be Tux up in Union Bridge. It may be, you know, Rockdale. There's so many different companies around that they dispatch to that.
I don't think Tux will do it.
You don't think so?
Kevin, that's only on vehicles in the public right of way, correct?
Correct. If it's in a public right of way.
I think that makes more sense during the snow emergencies, because what I've seen in the past snow is people parking on Main Street, moving when they're told, hey, you know, can you move, and then parking right back there again. And I've seen also overnights where they'll sit out there overnight. I've seen the trucks have to go around them and stuff, so that makes more sense to impound when it's an immediate need to get that vehicle out. Now, if it's something that's sitting on the public right of way, I mean, on their private property, it's not an immediate need, and I wouldn't think impounding
I'd
would
have to
be.
look into that because all I know is the 48-hour time frame.
Sure.
I'd have to look into the snow emergency route and how that would take part in that.
But it sounds like there are people who are using the streets of New Windsor to park trailers and other things. Is that what you said, Kip? So the,
Yeah, Atlee Ridge for sure has 3 trailers that I've even verbally told them that they cannot park on the roadway, that they continue to park on the roadway. They're legally registered, but that's a whole other violation.
so I can't imagine, I mean, we don't know this, but I wonder if they're moving them when it snows.
Probably not.
No, sorry. You know, it's a problem.
Move it just for the snow.
Yeah, it's a problem for more than the snow. I mean, that's kind of low hanging fruit if it's out on a public right of way and, you know. I'd be in favor of coming up with a process for this. Maybe we need to put it on a work, like a, you know, we do a little bit more research.
We need to hit it
Like you
again.
said, this has come up before and we always end up looping back to, well, we can't walk on private property and.
Well, but just because we loop back to it doesn't mean it's necessarily untrue.
I agree.
Seems like there's gotta be something that says that we have some authority to eliminate something on somebody's property. I mean,
If I've got a tagged vehicle and I'm willing to pay the state of Maryland $128 every 2 years or whatever,
Insure it.
and it looks like crap, and one of the tires is flat, and I'm still paying my $128 every 2 years.
that's different than an untagged
Yeah.
vehicle.
But my point is, some of the beat-up looking ones
That also
are
brings
still
into
legal vehicles.
the junk vehicle form request,
Mhm.
which they're per town code. If
Yeah.
they have a vehicle that's inoperable and they can prove that they're working on it, they can come up here and apply for a junk vehicle.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever done
application.
anything with that.
Apparently, according to the code, they're $10. They're good for 6 months. They have to prove that they're working on it. I mean, that's another viable option for probably the majority of these vehicles and the people and the residents in this town. I mean, I don't want to rough anybody's feathers and make everybody hate us for this because it's going to be a task. But the easiest way around it probably would be how to start. We just need some kind of guidelines for it.
So if you remember, when we went through this last time, we did come up with that process for people
Right.
working on their cars. And we never did come up with a process that takes it the next step, right? But I do need the citizens to know that we aren't doing this as a moneymaker for New Windsor. Okay, this has nothing to do with the town making money on this. As we had some discussion, the town doesn't benefit from that's not a concern of mine, that we are not getting income, right? We don't want the town to have to expend money to take care of this, but we're doing this so that we remain a beautiful town in the aesthetics of the town that we care about, and that your next door neighbor has a decent looking property, and you don't have to live next to someone that has a junkyard in their car. But we've tried to make provisions in this code that we redid a couple years ago to help people that wanted to work on cars, that are working on cars, that have, like to do that, and we've made those provisions in there. We just really need to sit down and buckle down and see how far we want to take it to the next step for the people that are not responding to the letters and things that we provide them.
And Kevin, is it fair to say that, after this meeting and then, of course, till the next one, where we meet again, I know there's some things that are, just unsureties of, where to speak on your end or what things cover or whatnot, but be able to add back to, where your limitations of everything are, and then maybe possibly with her one day or with somebody, be able to review whatever we have from the past, to see whatever might be still suffice or what should be just, pitched or modified with your input.
Sure, absolutely.
And I'll send the staff at MML an email stating that something we're gonna see if they can find some information on. Maybe somebody has a perfect code or something, I don't know, but we're not the only one out of 157 municipalities that deals with it.
And my history as a municipalities, I've worked for 2, and there was a process between the town and then getting it to the court to enforce it beyond that. And I think that's kind of what we're missing here for that extra enforcement aspect. So I look forward to discussing it.
And I'm not sure every judge wants to
No, they don't, not one,
deal with us.
not one.
Not one.
So, thank you for all your work. We're not gonna let this go this time. And hopefully next
Joe
Thursday,
Biden.
maybe better direction on where to go. No one's from Lehigh. New business. Greg? Yes. Grab a microphone. I think everybody got the PowerPoint and
Got it up here.
Greg, just a little background, owns property and is also business owner at 307 High Street.
The name was familiar. I couldn't figure
Nice
out what.
pictures. I never knew it as Richfield. I knew it as Danners. So you're going back before my time. But the biggest thing that, I don't want to steal his thunder, but I think everybody can understand why he's here, and that he has a legitimate concern, and we have a legitimate concern to address with State Highway Administration that he's going to be losing a lot of parking spaces. He may not need them right now, but if he were to sell his property somewhere down the road, as most business owners do at some time, that just decreases the value of it. So not to take any more away from you, Greg, appreciate you coming, appreciate you being concerned and involved.
Well, thank you. I'll keep this under your direction. I'll keep this as short as possible.
I didn't say short as possible.
Gary and I have been working a lot on this and communicating over the last year, but I kind of felt like I wanted to broaden the scope of understanding of what some of my concerns are related to the sidewalk project specifically. Subcategories of that sidewalk project would be some drainage issues that I'd like to bring to the town's attention, and then also talk about some proposed sidewalk upgrades. So my concern here is to simply convey my concerns to town leaderships and hope that we can all work together to either minimize or mitigate some of these issues. So the front of my shop has a very, very unique issue going on. It isn't apparent to most people. And that is that it's the lowest point in the general vicinity. And so when it rains or when it snows, specifically when it rains, I get water coming in from the street, I get water coming down from the front of my building, down the street, from the top, and also down the street from the bottom. And it might not look like it, but the concrete work in front of that is pretty sophisticated. The more I look at it, the more I'm pretty amazed that whoever did that knew what was going on. Because it all collects on the low spot on the swale in the concrete and then is vectored over to a gutter, which goes over to the manhole cover, and then the drainage pipe goes straight under the building. So it's a hard thing to manage because you're managing water from 3 or 4 different directions and really dealing with some minute, nuances in layout to make this all basically not flood the front of the building. If you look at the yellow line, that is the current drainage line from what I just described to you. It goes directly under my building from point A to point B. One of the current concerns that I have is that drainage pipe when I get a heavy rain or when I get snow actually flows, not leaks, but flows into the basement, which is indicated by that little red section in the lower corner of the outline of my building. This has been discussed. Gary and I have discussed it. Some initial discussions have occurred with the state planners, and I'm a little concerned that maybe they're not taking this area as serious as I think that they should. What they've done is they've proposed a drainage route around it so that we can basically get rid of the pipe under my building. And the issue that I think that they're not taking into account is sort of the rise and run. Obviously, we want water to flow downhill, which means we want as much slope as possible. My personal belief is that the current drain is going from point A to point B to give it the maximum slope that it can possibly have to run downhill. I don't think that slope is very great at all, simply because after the rain stops, I'll still have water flow in my building for a day or two. So it's clearly, in my mind, pulling under that very flat pipe that's going under my building. Obviously, if they're proposing a drainage system that's over 2.5 times longer in terms of the length from the one that's currently there, I think that when they get into this, there could be some serious potential problems if they haven't studied this deeply. That, you know, we would have all the streets turned up and they would look at it and go, oh shit, we can't get water to run downhill here. So I just wanted to put that in your mind, because it's just an area that has problems and it needs attention. The current layout, excuse me, of my shop is, you see a sidewalk that runs through the front of the building all the way up to the front of the neighbor's buildings. There's then a little bit of a gap that on the left-hand side contains the gas pump that everybody's familiar with. And it also contains some of that drainage. On the other side of the driveway contains the drainage that I was pointing out earlier. Typically, I park in my shop in car 1, my wife at shop in car 2, and then Rob's house, cars 3 and 4. If we look at what the new plan is doing, for some reason, they're revectoring the sidewalk in front of my shop out to the edge of where the current curb is, and then from that point all the way to the street, I guess they're planting grass or shrubs or bushes or whatever in there. And the obvious concern there is that, you know, we're going to lose 4 parking spots. As a street front commercial property, I'm kind of disadvantaged from the get-go that I only have 2 spots, but certainly no spots I think will significantly impact the resale value of this property, and effectively I would have nowhere to park. So my biggest question is why? Why are they doing this? You know, I'm not a graphic artist, as you can see, but I've attempted my best visualization of what I think's going on. On the far right side, you see the sidewalk going to the front of my building. Then 3 feet over, we're gonna have another sidewalk that goes in front of my building. And then for whatever reason, we're gonna plant bushes and grass in what were all the parking spots there. It just doesn't make sense to me. When I look at the new plans, and I understand they're a work in progress, I do see some oversights that are concerning. They're concerning simply because they're oversights on what I think is an extremely complex area to be doing this public works stuff in, given the drainage nuances that I pointed out earlier. We have grass, you know, planted in front of my garage door. We have grass planted, you know, on the alleyway. Those are such obvious mistakes that, you know, you almost need to discount them as just being oversights. But one of the things that's not an oversight is that we really, at that area, if they're gonna go with this plan, need radius curves so that I can actually go down the road and turn into the front of my shop, and vice versa, you know, be able to pull out of my shop without having to go in the opposing lane to kind of pull back into it. So these radiuses are gonna be extremely important for accessibility for me. And if you kind of look at what the ramifications of that would be, at least on just one section, we have a 21-foot wide section in front of my shop on the left-hand side facing of the shop, and the proposal is to push it out 16 feet. If we add radiuses to that for accessibility, what that's going to do is it's going to mean that we have probably somewhere in the order of a 3-foot curbette out there, as best I can call it. It just makes no aesthetic sense. It makes no practical sense to me. Why are we doing this here? You know, why are we foregoing the parking for this design? As I've said before, I don't understand the reasoning for this. My current sidewalks are already slated to be torn up for drainage modifications, as we've seen. And since they're being redone, why can't my current sidewalks remain sidewalks? You know, is the plan to actually put 2 new parallel sidewalks in the front of my shop? That doesn't make much sense to me. I tried to think of reasons for this. I've in talking with Gary, understood that there's a 5-foot you know, handicap requirement for the width of sidewalks. My sidewalks are some of the widest in New Windsor, except for the new sidewalks around the end up the street there. And so they're definitely, even at the smallest point, greater than, 5.6 feet. So that can't be the reason that they don't want to replace that sidewalk with a new sidewalk. So it really can't be a width issue. If the chairs that are sitting in the sidewalk, the gas pump, or the oil tank that's sitting in the sidewalk can surely be removed if that's the issue. So I guess bottom line, my biggest concern is that the loss of parking, I believe, will significantly reduce the value of my commercial street front property. There'll be nowhere to park. I don't know where I'd park if I went down there, maybe across from Dave's house. And then that's the other thing, with the loss of at least a minimum 4 parking spots, those 4 parking spots are gonna go across the street. And if there is any potential sale of the business in the future, and someone turns it into a hair salon or an antique store or an automotive store, then that's gonna increase the burden of parking spots for people that live across the street as well, who I know enjoy, as I do, parking in front of their house and having easy accessibility in their house.
17th this year.
Thank you very much.
So bottom line, I wanted to convey that to you. I wanted to maybe at some point get your thoughts, not now.
Well, no, I think this is the time.
I want to figure out how to
Eliminating bump
continue
out,
dialogue,
Well,
and then figure out how I can remain involved.
The ball's in our court now.
Comment too.
We've heard you, we understand you. Now, there's a couple things, I have confidence that the engineering for the water, will go downhill, I really think that they'll engineer that without any difficulty. And then that pipe, I'm not sure exactly what they're gonna be doing with that pipe, just probably cap it off, and it will remain under your.
For what it's worth, I don't know if I said this before, but I have no issue with that pipe running under my building, except for the fact that it leaks. So I would not be opposed to it remaining under there if that simplifies their job with a sleeve inside the pipe.
I imagine probably the philosophy is to get it away from somebody's
Private property.
private property, and this is the way to do that. The other thing, I'm pretty sure Gary and Dave, didn't we address the slope going into his facility, didn't we, with State Highway?
I'm looking at my comment letter right now. I have A, B, C, D, and E that apply to that whole area right there, specifically addressed comments to the state referencing your concerns, mostly what you talked about here, and that letter went out to the state January 17th of this year.
So Gary and Mayor, the rest of the council members probably do not know that when we met with the state back in January, Gary and Greg were fortunate enough to have some time prior to that meeting to have discussions about this stuff. And when we met with the state on whatever date it was in January, we did discuss in depth this area. And as Gary told Greg that he would, and we did. We spent a lot of time on it. And there was some, I would say, understandings that the state had about your sidewalk and your bench and your gas pump that they were trying to not touch and stay away from. And we talked to them about, well, if we needed to have discussions with you, Greg, about maybe moving them or doing something, that we would certainly do that. Yes, and I hear you say that. And so Gary, when he wrote up his notes and his questions to them, addressed all those things to address Greg's valid concerns about this area. I think the state looked at it with the plans that you saw that we all received as they were just going to leave that alone, stay away from it. They are talking about, I believe, capping that pipe. They would not remove that pipe. They were going to cap that pipe to make sure that no water is going into that pipe underneath your building, and working it around your building was their goal. And their way to get that sidewalk away from your building and put in a double sidewalk. We all did look at it and we were like, and that whole area was kind of funky. And
the one point to remember is they're not leaving everything alone behind there. They're literally from the front facing brick of my of my property going to remove everything because they need to put that new drainage in to follow that new drainage pipe. So it's not like they're going, wouldn't it be neat if we could leave this pristine or untouched or historic or patina, whatever. They're actually touching all that stuff.
But we would definitely, we haven't had another meeting planned because we were hoping to get a workshop, which I explained, at the fire hall so that we could have all the parties involved and you go around to each table and you talk.
Well, and I've been to those in the past, Mayor Rope, and the people who are listening are attentive, but I don't feel that they are necessarily the problem solvers. I think they're hearing it, but I'm not seeing maybe the reaction to it that I would expect. So hopefully this broadening of the concerns may be able to work some more seriousness to the proper people at those meetings, and I'd be very happy to be part of that.
Well, I think the entire council can agree, but I know Councilman Huffman and Councilwoman Schultz, who have been on for a while, and Gary also know that when we approach State Highway, that I don't always just say yes to them. I've been fighting for about 3 years to get the retaining walls, and we have them back now. That's the last discussion. So when we want to do something that's, in my opinion, in your best interest, in the town's best interest too, we don't want to lose the 4 parking spaces anywhere. But trust me, and hopefully you have confidence in us and myself that we will address this and not just turn away from it. So
Thank you.
I know there's some limitations with that angle and everything. I'm not an engineer, so I don't know what the best result will be. But I think, Gary and Dave, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but we've heard you, and we will address this with State Highway Administration next time we get the opportunity. We've already have, and, like I say, they've heard about the retaining walls just about every time I see them. So,
I'm hoping that at our next meeting that they're gonna come back with a new design. Yeah, I mean, cause that's,
Issued the comments, and
That would be nice.
haven't heard
what
anything.
was that, 65%? 60?
Considered 65%, I believe.
So
Yeah.
it should be further than that, but, and even when it's 90-95, that doesn't mean that we're gonna agree to everything. So,
I'm sorry, 65, what's 65%?
The
their
plans,
portion engineered. They're 65% of their 100% of the project, they're at 65% engineered. So they still got 35% of engineering to go. And that doesn't mean that when we see 95, 100%, that, we're not gonna, the council, Gary, myself, may still have some issues, So, but they've always been very receptive to, except for the retaining walls, but pretty receptive with the bump outs and different things. So I feel they'll hear us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Gary, anything else? All right. Thank you, sir. All right, fiscal year 25 circuit rider renewal discussed or documents.
so the annual renewal of the town's participation in the Circuit Rider program, there's 3 documents that need to be signed in order to continue the town's participation in the program. The annual fee to the town remains the same as last year at $1,250. So there's 3 forms. It's the Maryland Assurance of Compliance with the Equal Opportunity and Civil Rights, and then Drug and Alcohol-Free Workplace is one document, and then the Memorandum of Agreement, and then finally the resolution, which would be 030620-24A, which are all in the folder for this evening. So if you're in favor of continuing with the program, then
I think everybody is, unless somebody, now do we have to do these individually? Or can we?
Well, only one of them is the resolution, the others are just administrative, I think you signed them.
they're all need signatures, but the one's the resolution. Which
The resolution needs to go through y'all, but I don't think the rest do.
All right. Has everybody read the resolution? Pretty much knows what it is. It's resolution number 03-06-24B.
A.
B one here.
No, B's the planning commission one.
Planning Commission.
Oh, is that plain? Oh, it is. I'm sorry. Get the wrong one up here. Okay, there we are. A. Do I hear a motion to adopt the resolution?
Motion?
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion second to adopt the resolution. Any comments or questions? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So carried.
Before we move from that item, I think it would be helpful for the council if every so often we could possibly get an update on what the circuit rider is working on for us, what grants that he's applied for and things like that. I mean, thank you.
I've asked him for that earlier this week, so he's working on putting that together.
Or something, that would be
Quarterly
nice.
would be great.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
All right, now go back to resolution 03-06-24B, Planning Commission members' pay increase per meeting. We discussed this before. One here.
So yes, this was at the February 20th work session, request from Mark Schultz, Planning Commission Chairman, and Councilman Dave Huffman, Planning Commission Liaison, to increase the Planning Commission member salary from $35 per meeting per member to $50 per meeting per member.
30 to 50, correct?
Correct.
So I'd just like to clarify that I brought.
I said 35, but it's 30.
I brought it up at the work session meeting on behalf of Chairman Schultz from the Planning Commission. I will, since I have a conflict with that, I would need to abstain from any voting on that.
As would I.
We'll have a quorum to vote. Do I hear a motion to adopt resolution number 03-06-24B?
I'll make a motion to accept.
Do I hear a second?
A second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? So carried. All right, fiscal year 25 budget discussion and direction.
All right. So, give me 1 second here to shift some things around.
That's yours, these
Okay.
are mine, that's yours. I will do my usual fly out, given that you're just talking money now.
Do you want the
Wait, Michelle,
Word
do you have to
document or
sign
the
this?
actual budget?
I find something.
No,
Oh, no, I
you
didn't
can
sign
just
that one.
Bring up the spreadsheet.
Spreadsheet, okay.
I signed the resolution on the salary.
Okay, so we have the latest spreadsheet getting pulled up here. So, just bear with me here a second. Shuffling some papers.
You want to go over the major changes?
Yeah. So just before we get started, a few items of importance. I received a letter from the County Comptroller's Office, which is in here as well. It had a slightly earlier date for notification of real and personal property tax. The original budget schedule that we were working off of had that date of May 24th, and per the letter from Jenny Hobbs in the Comptroller's Office, that date is the 20th. So I've revised the budget schedule accordingly. Again, that's in your folders. I still believe we can be very easily we're on schedule, and we can very easily meet that requirement.
That's mainly if we increase, correct? Increase taxes.
We usually don't, we usually make that, we're usually done and adopted before that, and I think we can be on track to do that. Also in the meeting folder is a spreadsheet with a breakdown of costs for the proposed positions, which was sent to the mayor and council a week ago on February 28th. I've actually updated that spreadsheet slightly here, which is one you'll see here if we look at that, and that reflects the couple of minor changes that we made to the budget since the February 28th date, and those specific items are in the general fund. 5,000 was added to the audit and professional services, which I'll discuss in a little more detail. And then under enterprise fund, we added $4,000 line item for professional training and enhancement. So at this point in the budget, we're like 95% complete. So right now, it's just a matter of finalizing the salaries, finalizing the positions, and then balancing both general fund and enterprise fund. So the few minor those two minor changes affected the bottom line at the point the budget was in, and then that affected that spreadsheet that I had that explained all that. At least at this point, once again, there's no proposed property tax increase, and if that carries forward, which I believe it can, the FY25 makes it 9 years since the last property tax increase, which was fiscal year 16. So just going to run down through the budget items here quickly. We're, like I said, winding things down. The revenues under general fund, that's all set. We have an increase of $105,426. And then under expenditures, executive, again, the salaries, waiting for council approval and direction. And the new, all these are highlighted. The new part-time secretary receptionist position we discussed previously, and it's not included in the salaries at this time. Again, you can refer to that breakdown, that spreadsheet, and the breakdown of costs for those proposed positions, and need direction on these items tonight, hopefully to stay on the revised budget schedule. The professional services, the audit fees. So the 3-year contract with ZA is up at the council direction at the February work session was to continue with ZA as our auditing firm, and we requested an additional 2 years for a new 3-year proposal. We received that proposal on the 23rd of February, which included financial statement audit numbers for 2024, 2025, and 2026, and information on a single audit if required. Okay, so a single audit is required if the town spends more than $750,000 of government-funded money, i.e. ARPA funds. Okay, so ZA's proposal is in the folder this evening as well, but what I've done is just break down what their audit numbers are for 24, and then they've given us a $5,000 single audit if it's required for each of those years. So the number you see in the budget line item of $22,200 includes the FY24 price of $17,200 plus the single audit. And again, that will be if needed. So again, it goes back to how much money we're spending and what fiscal year we spend it in. So we know about the ARPA money needing to be spent or needing to be appropriated, allocated, whatever the word is, by the end of this fiscal year, but that end of the calendar year, but the fiscal year splits that calendar year. So it's just
We're walking a fine line there. What's the chances of us being able to nail not spending 750? We got 600,000 in each of those. What's the likelihood we're going to be able to?
My understanding is it's the checks written. So by the end of the fiscal year, if the checks written equals 750,000, we'd have to do that audit. I track them every single day. I can say we need to pull back for a second. 400 and some thousand was left from this year. We've talked about it going right up to the line and giving ourselves a little buffer. We can do that. Because if we did that, we would still not have to do it this fiscal year, and we would not meet that 750 the next year. Because it would.
I think it's going to hit either this fiscal year or next fiscal year. I think it's going to hit one of those. But it just, again, depending on the numbers, it may not.
There are some exceptions where we wouldn't have to do it. Mike did some research for us. I reached out to ZA. Those exceptions are slim to none and not having to file that. But again, there is that small chance.
I don't recall that audit being, in the requirements when we accepted that ARPA money.
That was before me, so
Yeah,
I
I know,
probably wasn't. I don't
Or
know
it was
the
buried
answer.
somewhere. I mean, in the mounds of paperwork that go along with that.
Or maybe it's a legal requirement and it
Has
just
nothing to do
wasn't in
with
there.
it, yeah.
Yeah.
The accounting requirement, I mean,
Has it?
So anyway, the budget line item accounts for that if we need it in fiscal year '25.
Okay.
Okay? The HR consultant under that category, under professional services, is, we had last received more detailed information on cost, and we're conservatively estimating that this service to cost $10,000, to split 50-50 between general fund and enterprise fund. So we originally had a higher number in there, which is, this number's a lot less. It's about a $15,000 reduction from the last time you saw this. So that's good news, and that's a conservative, we
Yeah,
feel
in the
conservative
folder,
number.
there are 3 consultants that have reached out to us for you guys to choose which direction you would like to. Donna Blum, Leanne, and Kathleen. There's all each submitted a scope of work, and their fee. Right now, Donna Blum is coming at $75 an hour, estimating it to be 30 to 40 hours of work that would need to be done. So that would be about $3,000 if we went high with that 40. Leanne's $125 an hour, so that's $3,500, and then Kathleen is $200 an hour, so you're looking at $8,000. Blum is local. She teaches the SHRM course at the community college, and we did work with Springdale. Leanne is independent. She's located in Philly. Comes highly recommended, though. Could do remote and could come and help. We just have to give her notice. And then Kathleen is completely remote. So.
We kind of like the
The
first
first
lady,
one,
mainly because
yeah.
she's local, the cheapest, the local, and if you get somebody, yeah, they're willing to come from Philadelphia, but you're gonna pay their travel time
Yeah.
and hourly rate to get here.
I like her. I took the SHRM class with her. She's it's great. Knows her stuff. I believe Neil. She's mentioned.
I worked with her over at Springdale, and I mean,
Well, I reviewed her scope of work, and she seems to be concentrating on the areas, that we would want to happen, and want the information on.
I can tell you she did cut us a little bit deal there, since she knows that we are a municipality as well.
Is that Kathleen?
No. Donna Bloom?
Donna
Da-
Blum.
Is it Dana or Donna?
I think it's Donna.
It's pronounced Donna, but it's spelled like with an A.
Like mine, yeah.
Okay.
Donna, yeah, Blum.
Well, she'll tell you if you say it wrong, I'm sure.
she will. But what I did, really, she is employee friendly. She knows her stuff and how to benefit employees, and I was real pleased with some things that she implemented at Springdale.
So again, that number, we're putting 5,000 each in general and enterprise, so we should be well within that budget number.
So really don't put that out, I mean, don't vote on that until 1st of July or sometime.
Yeah, until after we get the budget, yeah.
Okay.
So it's good. Okay. Planning and zoning, I was anticipating you all approving that change, and that's reflected in that line item, an increase of $1,100 there, and that basically covers the increase of the salaries, and then it counts for basically 10 meetings per year. So that's pretty much what it was based on before, and then I just ran the numbers based on the new rates per member per meeting. So that's accounted for there. Under Public Works, again, the salaries, we're waiting on approval there. The entry-level position, which we discussed, is not in there yet. That's a 75-25 split, general fund enterprise. It's not included in any totals at this point. The trash and yard waste, that line item increased 7,000, which includes, that includes Republic's increase rate for FY25, and then the additional roll-off containers that we're going to need for the additional residents at Snyder Summit that was mentioned in Director Meyer's report last month. And then, of course, your capital project budget line item, that's part of, once we get these salaries and everything finalized, then that we can set those line items, those project line items.
Gary, you may have said this and I just don't remember, but has the county come out with anything on tipping fees?
I've asked them, like I reach out to all the other places that we get rates from, and at this point, they're not anticipating it, but remember last year, I did the same thing, and then after we adopted the budget, they increased the tipping fee $1. Which, I mean, we average, I think it's 600 tons a year, so $1 was $600. It sounded like a lot,
Right.
but in the grand scheme of things, it really wasn't.
Yeah.
You know, so, but I've reached out to them, and the response was not at this time. So,
All right.
okay. Where did we leave off? Miscellaneous. Yeah. Payroll expense, that's already been discussed. It's just a reminder that we're tracking that line item. It is not included in that bottom total miscellaneous number, and that includes the federal and state taxes, Social Security, Medicare. These are paid by employee through payroll deductions, and again, it's just tracking numbers only. Then on the enterprise fund, our revenues, it's a much less of an increase, but it's an increase of $9,482. And then the expenditures, we did receive our Maryland Environmental Service budget for this year. They were received February 21st. On the water side, it was an increase of $7,896 or 7.94%. And then again, the capital project budget will be split on that to balance that enterprise fund between water and sewer. And then same thing under sewer on the Maryland environmental side. That increase was $7,219 or 5.03%. So that makes the MES's overall budget for water and sewer increase of, if you look at the very last page at the bottom there, is $15,115 or 6.21%. So it's not too bad of an increase there from those guys. So that finalized that.
But historically, their fees that you send are usually a little higher than actuals, right?
What they budget is typically a little bit higher than our average, than our actuals. It seems that's been, if you look at the previous years, yeah. So, yeah. And then under the personnel, under enterprise, again, executive and public works salaries, we need to resolve. That's the line item for professional training and enhancement. That's a new line item that we added in. At 4,000, and then the HR consultant is split 50-50, so you see that 5,000 versus I think it was in for 20,000 last time. I gotta correct that formula. And that's pretty much the rundown through of where we are. Again, we're real close to finalizing this with some direction from you all. Any questions? Hopefully you all had time to look at that spreadsheet.
What's the date for approval of the budget? May meeting? The hearing?
May 1st.
I'm looking to, let me get my schedule up here, sorry. Unless you can pull it up quicker than I can.
Budget hearing and adoption, May 1st.
Hearing has to be 30 days before,
We have
right?
to introduce, I think we're planning to introduce at the April council, then advertise, that's a Wednesday, advertise that Friday. I think it has to run 2 weeks. And then that gives us time. We actually have the April work session in between, and then have the budget hearing and adoption at the May 1st council meeting.
Okay. I was just thinking a year ahead. And keep that on course, that if the council wanted to have any pay increase for the council, that timeframe next year would work, because it would be before the election. So I'm just trying to keep a year ahead, so people can start thinking about that if they want. It has to be like every 4 years. And everybody's happy where it is, so.
You're doing your job for the money.
But no, the hearing and the adoption are all the same night.
Yes.
Usually the hearing is about 60 seconds.
Yeah.
But we have to do it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, town
job.
staff.
Yeah. Guys put a lot of work into this. It's amazing.
So where are we with salaries and the positions? I really can't do anything else on the budget until I have direction on that. That's the only thing left to really finish.
Well, what we did last year was leave it in the budget, and
So I thought that we agreed upon
We did.
the salaries,
Yes.
correct? We offered some changes
Right.
that we pushed forward. In my opinion, I would like to leave the two positions that Gary is recommending, the Public Works position and that position for project manager / whatever.
Assistant,
I would like to leave them in the budget so that we fund those, but I believe that we need to have some council discussions on exactly the job duties that we would like to see done in those positions. I do believe that we could use, more staff around town as the town has grown with the new developments. So I think that is a good idea, but I think we need to nail that down. I would like to have some input, hopefully from our HR person to help us with that. But I would like to see the money be there so that when we felt like we were ready, Gary would have the ability to just go out and start that hiring process. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I second that. I think that's the appropriate way of going about it, because we did talk about, potentially tweaking some of the responsibilities, but the money's got to be there to do that.
Right.
So
Right.
I'm in agreement with leaving the money there.
Both positions?
Yes.
Yes.
The part-time position is currently in the 24 budget already, this budget.
Right.
The only change to that in terms, if you look at that spreadsheet, that with the promotion of Kim to project coordinator, is the change on the general fund side is $1,105 and $1,040 on the enterprise fund.
Yeah, I would like all that money to be in there earmarked for the positions.
Yeah, I just don't want to make any decisions specifically about the actual positions tonight, but I agree, we have to fund them. And I think we decided that when we had our session, yeah.
And the salaries that I gave you, Neil, right? We're good with the one change you
Yep.
With the change we talked about, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
The supervisor's public work, okay.
Great,
I have direction then.
All right.
great.
And one thing, Dana, in case I forget in the future, or the next couple of weeks, I'll need a check for the fire department by March 16th.
I was wondering what that date was.
Thank you.
Just on that note, who reached, there's a new, I guess her title's town administrator for Mount Airy, I believe, Heather Smith.
Mhm.
I only know the name through emails, haven't met her yet. She reached out to all the town managers or town administrators asking that same question, as to what are the municipalities giving to the fire departments, and how is it based? Is it based on property value, or is it a straight number? So I've found it kind of interesting to see what the responses were.
It's from 0. When I worked at the Fireman's Training Center, I think some of the fire departments get 0. Some give a little bit. I thought Mount Airy, and don't quote me on this, but I thought they were 10% of the budget or something.
Wow.
Do you know?
Well, that's maybe why she's asking, because she's from there.
Yeah.
So I don't know specifically.
I thought they
why
did
she's
pretty good,
asking.
but don't quote me on that. Maybe I'm way off on that. But we were at 5,000 and 10,000, and then we did bump it up to 20,000, which I think the fire department is very appreciative on what we give. But I think you'll find it's all over.
Yeah, I heard. I think Westminster is going to be high. That was 125,000.
I think they have a fire tax, don't they?
I didn't get any specifics on it. I don't know.
I thought they had a fire tax. Maybe not.
I think Tonytown was kind of surprising because they're the second biggest, and I think they were only 30.
Yeah, they've been 30 for years, I think.
And then Manchester was, I'm forgetting them now, I think 25.
Yeah.
Haven't heard from Hampstead yet. Yeah, so it was just interesting to kind of hear those anyway.
And see, Sykesville's not in actually the town.
Right.
Their station's outside of town, so I think there was, some question to do we or don't we at one time, and that's been many years ago. Steve, I don't know if you know any fire departments, what they get.
I know Westminster used to be set up different when they had the paid personnel in the station. We don't need the county employees. I think they gave them more to cover that, but that's just changed. I don't know exactly what the numbers are.
Yeah. But they don't have a fire tax?
I don't know.
I thought they did at one time. Maybe they never did, but I thought they did.
They might have.
So.
Okay, well, I will make these changes for the next, I'll have them for the work session. So you basically see the final numbers on everything, and then we have a little bit of extra time if we might as well just stay on the schedule that I've revised it to anyway, so.
All right.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you. Any other new business? Any old business? Any residents' concerns? All right, announcements. See if I can remember them all and have them down here somewhere. All right, maybe not in order, but this Saturday, March 9th, come read with us, Dr. Seuss book. It's part of the New Windsor Lions Club Literacy Program over at the Community Meeting Room at 10 a.m. Lynn Talbert has done an outstanding job with her team. So if you have any little ones, it's a great opportunity to come out and read. And I think they get a book, I believe. Community Blood Drive next Thursday, March 14th. I know town staff has done that before. I know. All right, Councilman Hall has, myself. So I challenge you to hit the 110 unit mark that I have. So a little bragging. That's between 1 and 6 over at the fire hall. Community Easter egg hunt is Saturday, March 30th at 12 p.m. over at Springdale Preparatory School. And the basketball game is April 4th at 5 p.m. over at Springdale Preparatory School. You have any announcements for
No, we don't have anything coming up until summer. So.
All right, okay. Anybody have any other announcements?
Yes.
Okay.
This is a community announcement for we should be proud. We are proud representatives or members of the girls basketball team. Just won the regional championship tonight, and they're going to the States. So first time in probably 25 years. So,
very good. Thank you. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
I'll second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Meeting closed. Thank you, everybody.